What are angels? There are higher beings of such superiority that their nature cannot be perceived by man, such as the forms, the metaphysical patterns that generate reality, that which guides cosmic and biological evolution to various utile states, called telons in the CTMU, and the faculty by which the universe recognizes itself. An angel is a supernatural spiritual being who serves God. The angels are incorporeal. They are intelligences without matter, but nevertheless created beings. Where reality is an identity operator which simulates and attributes existence to itself, we can consider angels the higher order programmers of the reality self-simulation, meaning they are functionaries of the will of God. Chris Langan says, angels are messengers of God that do not have ordinary degrees of freedom. God gives them something to do, imparts something directly to them, and they make sure it gets done. They cannot break out there. Basically, they're in bondage to God on this level. That's what makes an angel. They don't share all of our degrees of freedom. However, they do have some degrees of freedom. They are adaptive to certain things that they confront, and that is probably the best way to define an angel. These angels are functionaries of something I've called in the past distributed fine-tuning, which means not everything is determined from the top down by God. For instance, when we speak of the fact that the universe is fine-tuned for life, it doesn't mean that every detail of biological and cosmological history was lined up directly by God. In fact, these constraints are adjusted and relaxed all the time by the infrastructure of reality. But it does mean that all strata of reality are aligned towards this intention and will the existence of something by which it can recognize itself, namely biological life. This self-identification is what the substance of reality, called Telesis in the CTMU, is always trying to do. It's trying to arrange possible future to bring about the emergence of true and good order and life in the universe. This dynamic is why Chris Langan says that life originated metaphysically before it originated biologically. So an angel represents the coherence of reality towards a particular item of God's will. An angel is not merely a group of intentions, but is a coherent being. Langan says, incredibly coherent, second only to God, of course. As for the various sightings of angels reported in near-death experiences, the prophetic episodes in religious scriptures, etc., Genesis Rabbah, the rabbinic commentary on the book of Genesis, explains this as follows. Angels can appear at one time as males, another as females, now as spirits, now as angels. Chris Langan explains that the CTMU shows that the universe is like a mind. Like any other mind, this mind has certain powers of association and analogy. In the CTMU, objects are not just objects. We must treat them as object-observer couplings. So even though angels, for instance, can be contacted and visualized through the active intellect with intense prophetic visions, angels are celestial and have no permanent bodily form independent of the mind. For example, the book of Zechariah says, "Then lifted I up mine eyes, and looked, and behold, there came out 2 women, and the wind was in their wings." Flying symbolizes that the angels possess life, because flying is the most sublime and perfect movement of brute creation that we can visualize with our minds. More complex spiritual visions, such as God's chariot in Ezekiel 1, require more profound analysis. What is constantly and consistently occurring is that prophecy evinces the metasymbolic patterns of reality, which generate the terminal domain that we can see and interact with in regular waking attention. And yet, angels are always secondary to the actual identity of reality, the infinite source of everything, God Almighty. God is the formal, efficient, and final cause of all that exists, the ultimate form of the universe. It is through the existence of God that all living beings exist by emanation from Him. God has the same relation to the universe as a form, the metaphysical essence of something, has to its instantiation. A decent definition of logos, the overall unity of reality, is that it is the will of all things to become, according to their various faculties, like God. Although the CTMU includes the universe includes many inanimate beings without motion and life, taken as a whole, it is a single being living through its global telic utility functions and the mumorphic grammar, which connects God with His creation and affects a living, conscious, breathing universe with angels, a soul, and an overall unity. The universe is in its entirety nothing but one being, subtended by the being of God. And the angels, or as we'd call them in the CTMU language, the inner expansive domains or telons of the several parts of the universe, are like the metaphysical flesh, bones, ligaments, and organs of the universe. A function of angels includes, for example, the emergence of biological life and how the global teleology rules over the several parts of the universe. This function means willing the chemical composition, i.e. the structure of atoms, molecules, compounds, and quantum particles, which are advantageous to the emergence of biological life. This force supplies vegetative functions like plants have, vitality like animals have, and the rational intellect, which is the provenance of humans, which work together to produce things and to perpetuate them, so that natural selection can create functional variants of organisms to the global teleology, which is the soul and essence and purpose of all things. The angels desire to become similar to the ideals that they comprehend. The intelligences who fully understand the principia of their existence are purely spiritual beings who form the intermediate element between God and the material world. This dynamic means that angels are part of the metamorphic grammar, which affects the evolution of the universe from one state to the next according to some end or purpose. Maimonides says, God does nothing without contemplating the host above. God, the form of the universe, contemplates the world of ideals and thus produces the existing beings. This is why God uses the plural on occasion in the Bible. For example, in the creation story, God says, "Let us make man in our image." And in the Tower of Babel story, he says, Let us go down and there confound their language. We, as humankind, have been blessed with free will. We can choose to be either angels or savage beasts. God willing, enough of us will choose the path of light and salvation and stronghold. Let the light shine forth in the darkness, and may the peace of our Father in heaven be upon you. Like and subscribe. Peace.